Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel The Vibes Inside. I am Mariana and I'm here to do full moon reading in the sign of Gemini, happening on the 15th of December 2024. It is the last full moon. Well, I just have this feeling that it is actually a big one somehow. Happening in the season of of Capricorn. And slowly we are moving towards Christmas time. I feel like, Gemini is known to be the twins. So the twins are like a picture of, or an illustration of, duality and two different ways of handling life, thinking about life, always two decisions. The idea, should I do this or this? What is best? If I do this, then I can't do this, and if I do this, I can't do this, or I can't be. If I choose to be this, I can't be this, and if I choose to be this, I can't be the other. I think it is well known also that like physical twins have, there's always one of them that seems to be a bit more in charge. There's always one that seems to be more of a leader and the other more of a follower. There's always one who is a little more that seems stronger, or that seems maybe more driven, and the other is more passive. That one can feel like they have to make the decisions when the twins are together, that they are the ones that drive the relationship, and the other one is kind of following. The one that follows can feel like they can never really be in charge, because the other one seems to always want to lead. And I have this feeling of like a switch, like a turning off, that this is up for debate, right? That maybe the one that leads actually doesn't want to lead anymore. It's exhausting to always be the one that has to think ahead, and always be the one that has to, like, be proactive and taking care of the other, right? That I feel like there is a group, there's a voice, you could say. Gemini's Mercury is associated with Mercury. Mercury is communicative. It has a voice. It speaks. It's the throat chakra. It wants to say something. It has a voice, but maybe seldom heard, or it's repressed or has not come to the surface. It's a different voice, a different tune, a different, I don't know, let's say religion or narrative, right? That that is not so, let's say, popular. It's not so popular, so that's why it's overheard, that's why it's overlooked, that's why it's never given attention. But I have this feeling that this other side is on the move, right? It's on the move because there is some kind of balance or something that needs to shift a bit, or it's fighting or it's claiming its worthiness, it's claiming the attention of the other. And well, you can see this perhaps in your relationships. Maybe you can see it if you take a look in the world powers, upheavals, well, there has always been upheaval, different places, but this is it's a different one. I feel like it has to do with something fundamental, something very personal and private. It's like when something is exhausted, it has to do something, right? It has to move, it has to say no for the first time perhaps, right? It has to change direction or choose new friends or something. There is a point where you can no longer push it. Then it will do something. And Mercury is turning direct again now after being in retrograde, so we could have a change of communication. I feel like a more honest one, actually. A more honest one. Something about even, the idols we have in life, we have always considered them immortal or not able to be, vulnerable. Now you may actually see them becoming vulnerable. You may see that there's a Tor in the picture perfect appearance, right? You may see that there's a glitch, or there's a sense of that it's not that perfect. And then the other one comes forward, right? Because they have known all along, right? They have known all along that this is too perfect, or this is too, that this other voice that has been repressed, it comes forward now because it has known all along. It has known all along that what was happening was an illusion. It wasn't real. It's not true, right? That feeling, that's what I have. And the recognition that this other party, this other, is worthy, right? That what they are saying has meaning. There is a logic to it. Maybe not a preferred one, but there is a truth in it. A different truth, a different kind, a different direction. Maybe there's even freedom in this narrative, but it has been repressed, denied, not preferred, not looked at, and now it's like it's coming through, like there is something moving through the barrier. Because there's a glitch in that barrier. It no longer holds water. It's no longer authoritative, you could say. It's no longer invulnerable. Like you can actually hurt it, right? You can actually pierce through it. You can actually influence it, even though it may have looked like you couldn't. And this can be on a very small scale, very privately in your life perhaps, depending on maybe where you have Gemini in your chart. It can be on a large scale. There could be, domains, or there could be hierarchies that are being influenced by something else. And this else thing has known all along. Like it has known all along, but nobody would listen to it. So this is what I have, that feeling. Let's get some cards here. So again, upheaval, or a sense that of rebellion, a sense of something that doesn't have a voice gets one. Something that doesn't have a voice gets one. Maybe for the first time in a very, very long time. I get something like ancient religions, nature religions, witches. I get, it's very earthy actually. It's very nature, earthy. That there's something we have forgotten. And because we are only presented with one kind of life, you could say, and life, you could say prophecy almost, one picture, one path to follow. It's like something is coming in that says that there is another one, and it has known all along, right? That what is going on is not real. It's an illusion. It's a dream. It's an escape. So what let's say this is another person. If you have a physical twin, maybe this twin has been, on living a life, living a life, and you have known all along that this life is not, it's not authentic, right? It's just an escape. It's a sad decision for them, because you know them on a deep, deep level. You know them as a twin. You know them very deeply. When you grew up, you knew, right? You've always known. But this other one, this other twin, or this other energy has chosen, or now I get something, it wanted to separate, right? Twins are usually, this is maybe also a society thing, but twins are often looked like and judged for their appearance, right? That they look alike. If they are identical twins, they look alike, so they must be alike, but they are seldom very alike, actually. But they are seen as a unit for some reason, a dual unit for some reason. And many twins feel that way, that they belong with their twin, but still sometimes also they can't stand it, right? So sometimes they belong and sometimes they can't stand it, so they want to separate. There can be this back and forth feeling that I can't do without, but at the same time I don't want to, right? Always be compared to, or I don't want to be compared to. I want to be my own separate person, right? Even the parents don't do that necessarily. They dress them the same way, they get the same haircut, or they get this, girls, they get the same dress. It's the same model, but maybe two different colors. I don't know. I just have this feeling that there is one has separated, and one never wanted to separate, and knew that we can never separate. We do belong together, right? We go together. We supplement each other. That is why we are twins. One may have wanted to escape this, wanted to be free of it, experience what it is like not to have that twin around, to get their own identity built up. But this other twin has known all along that it can never function without them, right? That they need to go together. So you can run, you can go out there, you can live most of your life away from me, but eventually we will be united again, right? Because that's how it works. And I've always known this. For some reason, you chose not to. Okay, so let's have a look here. Like I get a theme from this one, like there's a theme with this. Sun, joy, fulfillment, abundance, happiness, warmth, summer, sun, maybe Gemini sun, Gemini sun. There's something about the sun. So the joy, the happiness, there's a theme about this. This is a theme. There's something about happiness. Happiness again. Yeah, this makes sense actually. Because can you be happy alone? Can you find meaning in life alone? I have found recently that one of the things that I think that many people, like when they become lonely, I think it's because they're not recognized the closest friend that is always there with them. Loneliness comes from a thinking mind. And Mercury is a thinking mind. Most Geminis, air signs in general, I guess that if you ask them, they are always in the mind. They are always thinking, plotting, understanding, learning, reading, examining things. But do they have a good contact with their body? Are they grounded? Do they feel calm with themselves? Or are they restless? One of the things where I feel like the loneliness can come in is because nobody gets them, or it's difficult to follow their mind, the speed of the mind. The body is our closest friend, but usually the one that gets very neglected. In my own life, I've realized that I was never built to be a slim person. Like I know that a modern world is teaching and preferring and favoring the young slim, or it's at an attractive state to be in. But I've realized that my body cannot be sufficiently nourished if I slim it down. Like I get cold, I feel like my body feels like it's I wouldn't say haunted, but like there's something that has an impact on it, and it can't do anything because the body follows the brain, right? So what the brain dictates is what the body is exposed to. So if, let's say you have one of those elite sports people or adventure people, right? Maybe they want to break a record in ice water diving. So your brain has decided to have this goal. You want to dive into this ice water and swim in it for, I don't know, a mile or something. Your body would naturally protest against this. This is not a good, it's not good treating me like that, it would say. But then you can do it again and again and again and again and again and still survive in some way. And then your brain tells your body, see, nothing happens. So the brain can start trusting the body can start trusting the brain's decision. But initially, it said no. Initially, it would tell you, when you put your feet in the water for the first time, it's way too cold. Your body would say no to this. But if we set our mind to something, we usually push it through, right? Rock climbing, mountain climbing. This is another thing, like this is not natural, right? Like the body would know instinctively, we would know we are way up too high, we can fall down. Especially if you are climbing without any security measures. If you are a free climber or a free diver, no air tank, nothing. You can put your mind to it and you can push it through, the body follows. But will it take a toll on your body eventually? Will it take a toll on it? When you are 50, 60, what then? Marathon runners. Yeah, you get the glory of winning perhaps this great marathon. But when you're 50 or 60, your knees are, totally worn out and you sit now in pain. Personally, I believe that if we manage to put our mind and body in a cooperation throughout life, and this is accepted, that this is what is supposed to help us be fit for the longest, I think that we would probably feel more connected. That one of the reasons why we are lonely is because we're not connected. And the desires or the instincts and the drives of the body is to a certain point neglected or overheard or only present in certain private situations maybe. I think that once we were more connected, when we were cave people, like the instincts of the body, the recognizing of noise around you, or movement, or something, was extremely important. Because if you didn't listen to these instincts, you could be killed, right? They were extremely important. You listened to them. You followed the instincts. You never doubted them. But this is what we do today. We doubt them, or we put them aside, like we shove them aside and we do it anyway. So what I get from this card is something like, whether you are happy. Are you happy? Do you feel happy? Do you feel connected? Do you feel whole? Do you feel abundant? This is also Leo energy, right? Leo is a very powerful energy. I see Leo and Sun energy, and it's masculine energy. It's very driven. It usually has a big self, sometimes also ego. So there could be something about the ego here. The ego is what drives us to do all these to get the achievements. The body doesn't care. The body wants connection. It wants to be safe. It wants to be taken care of with food and shelter and sleep and general well-being, and avoid illnesses and things like that. That is the prime concern of the body. But that's not necessarily the concern of our brain. The brain thinks ahead. It wants to plan. It wants to secure certain things. It wants to secure the basic things and more. And this more thing has to do with this. Right? It has to do also with the separation. Feeling like wanting the glory of something, achievements, wanting to be seen, heard, understood, valued, respected, seen as a leader, being in, maybe on a pedestal. Leo energy is very, very generous also. Can be a very, very generous leader. Powerful, very powerful. Authority is here also. Natural authority, that is the Sun energy. Leo energy usually, I don't know, for some reason there is something about that, like this, well, depending on where it is in your chart, of course, but you can have a Leo Sun in a not so favorable position, that makes the Leo energy have a hard time showing itself. But let's say you have Leo in the 10th house. Like that would be becoming like being a leader in your work position. That would be a rather strong placement, I would say. At least if you want to lead. Like if then it would be a powerful position to be in, and a natural one. It will feel natural for you to be a leader in some way. But when you lead, I've said this before, a leader can only lead if there's something that follows. And now again I have this twin thing, right? You have a leading twin and you have a following twin. If the following twin disappears, you are not a leader. What are you leading exactly? It only exists in your mind. It doesn't exist around you. When you look around, there's nobody there. So when something follows, it has to be respected. Like the role it takes has to be respected, as does the role this other one takes. It's like playing a role character in a play. But it cannot work unless both parties agree on these terms. If one decides to leave, the other one has nobody to lead. They can say whatever they want. If nobody is listening, there is no leading feeling. There's no success, there's no triumph, there's no me being more than you, me deciding more than you following my decision. It doesn't work like that if one is not participating, right? So if one is participating, we should respect that. This is important for the leader, right? To know that their leadership depends entirely on a followership. If there is no follower, you could say a singer, let's say in the Mercury area, let's say a singer is singing songs. but then nobody buys the records, or nobody buys or downloads the music. They can sing whatever they want. If there's nobody giving them attention, adoring them or following them or liking them, they will not have they will not have success, perhaps. They will not have the money, or, all the fame, all this. They will not have that status. We have said that Michael Jackson was the king of pop, right? That he was and Elvis was the king of rock and roll. So being an artist like that can actually put you on a pedestal, being adored, having this enormous fan group around you. But only if you manage to actually take this role upon you to be that kind of leader. If your self-worth is there, if you are strong enough, if you feel like you literally have this feeling inside you, then you can take the leadership position. And you will find out, right, if nobody listens or if nobody hears you, it's like the message doesn't apply. You can sing as much as you want, nobody is listening, right? Or only few people are listening, and maybe they don't like what they hear. Maybe few do, and maybe because there are many people. Everyone says something today, right? Everyone is sharing something. So there are so many narratives, and you can pick and choose the one you like the best. Maybe not the one that is true, but the one you like best. Because it's easier, or it's nicer, or it's more comfortable. So being in a leading position, you need to make a choice. Will I speak what is preferred? What can give me fame? What can give me glory, money? What can put me on a pedestal? What can make me adored? Or will I speak the truth as I know it? Will I speak the truth as I see it? Will I be honest with that feeling that I have? Or because if I do that, I may not get this, right? I may not get this because then people will not choose to listen to me. Can I be okay with that? Can I still feel like a leader though nobody is listening? Can I maintain a self-worth, even though nobody is mirroring it to me? Even if my twin doesn't, the one I should be a unit with, even if my twin doesn't, can I maintain my own self-worth? Can I maintain my own identity or my own beliefs here? Even if nobody is listening. Can the one that I talked about before, the one nobody listened to, the one that was unheard, the one that was quieted or repressed in some way, can this maintain its self-worth, its dignity, its authority even, when nothing around it confirms it? Is that possible? You need a very strong faith, I think, and a very strong loyalty to yourself, right? To be able to do that, even if your own twin is leaves you behind. It needs a very, very solid footing and very solid roots, and a big faith in your own beliefs. So I get that feeling, right, that there's something about like these dynamics that, we say it power dynamics, but power dynamics only exists when someone wants power. Again, the other one, the one that follows, usually doesn't feel like they have the same power. They are followers, they're not fighters. They don't fight the leader, they follow the leader. They are, you could say, they are not designed to fight, right? They are designed to be a friend, right? They want to be friends. They don't want to be enemies. They don't dispute the leadership necessarily of the other. They just want to be with them. But then you see, if someone wants to be separate, they want to stand alone. Because if you are attached to someone, it's difficult to be the big warrior. I've talked about this before. If you are the big Zeus warrior, and you want to stand on the pedestal, you want to be the leader, sole leader, nothing can ever change that, nothing can ever challenge you. You cannot let someone in. If you let someone in, it can make you vulnerable. So it's better to stay very, closed around yourself, and never let something really close to you. Never get yourself attached to something. Not really. When you are not attached, you can maintain this more easily. If something has a contact or can somehow penetrate or get in, it can weaken the son here, right? It can weaken the son, the leader. So some leaders are seen as, well, they can be great leaders, but if you are close to them, like if you are a brother, a sister, or even a mother, or living very close to them, they are not that approachable. Maybe there is something like this right now, the feeling of something that is not approachable by something else. It won't open the door, it's not open for conversation. And then still I get what I said in the beginning, the feeling that maybe this is it's like there's a there's a rife in this very solid titanium building, right? Or protection. Like there's a feeling of that you can push through to it. Maybe on a little scale still, but a little bit. That feeling. A little opening for conversation, maybe a softening, like maybe you feel this has been a Zeus hardcore warrior, and now maybe you find that they are a bit humble, or they have become softer, or maybe that they even have regrets, something like that. So let's get this cards here as well with the full moon on it. I feel that is appropriate. So I feel like a rife in the veil, or a rife in the titanium protection shield, right? A rife in the armor of this other. Get telepathy here. Interesting. Telepathy is mind orientation, right? Throat chakra, blue third eye chakra, even crown chakra. telepathy. I have the blue here and I have the purple. One bigger than, again, it's like one is bigger than the other, seemingly bigger than the other, but maybe there's a connection here that I want to have it over. I want to keep it. I feel like telepathy, very interesting, because telepathy is like this, and I get 2 here, 22. It's considered special in numerology. It says here, transmission, perception, communication. Yeah, I feel like something piercing through. There is an influence. There is an influence that could be considered foreign or strange, even ancient, forgotten, something like that. It's something you may not have thought about because you have been on this mission, right? Perhaps someone has been on this mission for a long time, and now it's like something is challenging. I feel like this mission here, this separation, this standing alone, this creating their own identity, this idea of that I am stronger than you, you have to follow me, you have to do what I say, that there is a feeling of, yeah, like a blending of some kind. Maybe being challenged with someone could have found a way in through telepathy here. And especially Gemini, right? Because they're communicators, not only in words, but definitely thoughts and written, verbal. I would say even here, telepathy, thoughts, ideas, challenges. To me, throat chakra is everything that has to do with identity, known language, unknown language, beliefs, perception, narratives. Like, which narratives do you follow and why? And do they make you happy? Like, do they make you happy? Again, I have the pink cloth on the table, and this has to do with heart chakra, or it has to do with love. It has to do with a romantic sense of belonging or union or connection. Full moons are about completion. There could be a completion of union, so meaning that two separate energies that may have been separated start seeing each other, because this is what it has all been about. Like they belong together. It's like two halves of a heart that is coming together. And when they try to separate themselves, it's like a broken heart in two different pieces. loss and lack, fear and victimization. Like this is pretty much like the opposite of the sun. Like this is despair and feeling alone, lonely. So you see, you can be like, we can talk about happiness here, but we can also talk about glory. But you could feel very lonely in your glory. Or you could feel the absence of happiness if you are separated from something. Maybe the loss and lack, fear or victimization you feel is because of certain ideologies that you, or narratives you have been following. It's like something could be speaking to us here. This other, I feel like this other, the one I said that was over here in the beginning, like this, the one that has not, because it knows something. It's interesting. What is it that they know here? The one that speaks here. Like telepathy is back and forth, right? But the one that is speaking, what are they saying? Again, it's like a silent voice, but for some reason it has found a way to be heard here. It's like they could stand in front of you, not opening their mouth, but you can hear them still. Or you get information. Someone could feel very happy and very content with being, alone, like that they are not with that twin, that this gives them freedom. And the other one could be very, very unhappy. And there is this feeling, I get this feeling of like that this is shared, that there is something shared. Or it's known. Like a missing, right? That someone misses. And this one, it's whether they stay away on purpose, right? Do they stay away on purpose so that they can deliberately influence someone else, make them unhappy? That is a power feeling, right? To be able to influence someone in that way. And if you do that, everything fell down here. And if you do that, is that really what you want? Is it really what you want? Or would you rather actually be together? So I get 3 of Ariel here, and this is a pink card. Do what you love, a time of great personal growth in your career or artistic endeavor, working with others in a cooperative manner. I feel like when I look at this again, you can see he's very big and he looks at this little ballerina here. And he can build these boxes, and he can repair them, and he can make her dance as he prefers, right? He's the creator of these boxes. Maybe someone here prefers to have the control, and prefers that this little ballerina dances the way she's supposed to dance. But again, it depends on the material used here and his skills to actually make a box that can do this. His skill, his care, his consideration, his interest, his devotion to this project determines his success, whether she will do this. So someone can be a manipulator of, let's say, materials, and with those materials you can create something. And the more skilled you are, the more devotion you put in, the more interest you have. The more care, you could say, that you give this, the more probability there is that it will actually dance when you open it. This is like a product, right? But I feel that you can actually still use this picture, even if this was not a box for jewelry or a music box. This is something you can, this understanding you can use with anything. Let's say that this was your child, that when you put attention into it, the child is also your creation, right? When you put attention on it, when you give it your care, when you're interested in it, and how you can shape it, you could say, and the power you have to shape it with your narrative, with your words, with your attention or lack of, right? It shapes the child. It shapes the thing that you have around it. If you don't put attention on it, if you are not interested in it, if you don't consider the material or the material it's built of, if you don't respect the natural laws of each material, wood, metal, and so on, if you don't respect the material of your child, how it's built. Is it a sensitive child? Is it a very well-strong child? If you don't let it have your leadership, not necessarily to control it, but you can do both, right? You can create a child that believes in themselves, that trusts their own abilities, that sees their personal touch to them, their personal style as a good thing. You can show them, but you can also make them fear the world. They can become like a shadow of themselves if they don't believe in themselves. It all depends on what kind of attention you decide to give them, or whether you do not give them attention at all. And this goes with people around you, things you work with, friends. Maybe this is a hobby, right? But will it be like if you never put attention on your twin, for instance, this, if you have a physical one, will they feel okay with that, or will they feel that something is missing in their life? And if you did actually, you need to get to know it, right? Like to build this box, you need to have some kind of knowledge about tree or wood. You need to know something about like how to mechanically make a music instrument and making this little ballerina turn, right? It takes a certain skill. You could say it takes a certain skill to build something. It also takes a certain skill to be a parent. And what kind of parent do you become here? And what have you decided was most important with the child? Sometimes we see that success can only come from fixing or building this, and that it actually works. But what if the process towards the goal is where you learn the most? It's not about necessarily the success here, whether you actually make a product that can be sold, that works, that people would want. It's more, it can also be successful to watch the process, the building process, the care you put in. You know, there is something painted here, right? The color, the inside color, the design of the ballerina angel here. I think that, again, as I said, if we become reacquainted with our body, for instance, and we respect that it is created in a certain way, and there is an evolutionary state behind it, many like links of evolution behind it. It works in a certain way, and we can design it and push it in a certain way. Of course we can do that, but we could also respect it, right? We could respect that there are limits to the body. There are limits to also, especially if you want to be here for a long time, like if you want a long life, you have to work with it, right? For these two to have success together, like they have to work together, you would say. He has to be knowledgeable of not only his own whereabouts and his own knowledge and his own skills, but he also has to know something about this, right? To be the creator of something, or to make something grow, or make something favorable. He has to put natural attention into it. He has to trust that he can do this, and he can learn from the process of building it, and maybe all the care he puts into it. Let's say this music box is something he wants to give his young daughter as a present. He might consider he may consider the color, right? He may consider the music tune. What would she like, her daughter? Will this be something she would care about? Would she like it? Or, as we see, he is almost about opening another one here. Would she like this one more? And maybe why, you know? It's interesting how these are very dual. I feel like that this is very dark actually. Loss, lack, fear, victimization. I feel like many of us have grown up with this feeling of lack, that something has been missing. We have always, been concerned about money. We have heard it from our parents. Money doesn't grow on trees, and it can be the feeling that we are not connected, that as I said, like the heart is torn in two. It makes it difficult to let go of someone if you feel there's this special connection somehow. And sometimes I want to say even lack and abundance, it's like a dual energy. One cannot exist without the other. Like knowing you are rich can only happen if you can compare yourself to someone poor. Like if you can see a poor person outside your house and you know you're not like them. If you see a homeless person, you could say, I'm not like them. I'm better off, right? I'm not homeless. I am more abundant. I belong in a group of, so we can identify ourselves when we meet an opposite. We can see we are not them. They can see they are not us, or the other way around. If this is me, and I look at someone who shines like this, lives in a very big house, has a lot of money, I can see I'm not them, right? I know it. We know it like that. This is instinctual. We can even know that when we are in the presence of certain people that have a lot of power, like inner power, we can feel it. I think we can also feel it when we are in the presence of someone who doesn't have that power, who feels very small and vulnerable perhaps. Again, it's like they go together. One identity cannot be there unless this other one confirms it or mirrors it. A leader cannot be a leader without the idea of fellowship or followers. Big cannot be present unless small exists. If there's no small, how can I know I'm big? Right? Am I light or am I dark? Am I woman or man? I can only know I'm a woman if there is a man present, or if there is males present, or if they exist. If this was a world only with women, they would not consider themselves as a specific gender, because it would be everywhere and nothing else would exist. But when the first man arrives, something changes, because he is different. So you become aware of yourself when you meet an opposite. Opposites are important to identify who we are. And sometimes it can be very interesting, or very there can be a humbling feeling when we recognize that they tell us something about us. When she looks at him, she would probably think that, or recognize that she's smaller, right? But if he was not there, right? If he was not present here, she wouldn't know. She would just be like this. But when he comes in, right, with a sense maybe of dominance or control, or let's say this is like society, right? And this is the little individual. Like society can feel like this big thing that we have no control over. but this only exists because of them. Like, what would society be without people? It's a play, right? It's an interaction. It's an interaction with both needs to be present. Otherwise, one cannot exist without. A society would fall to the ground if there were no people participating in it, keeping it alive. It's a voice. It's a narrative. It is laws, legislation, rules. It is moral tradition. But that's what it is. It cannot stay alive unless someone keeps it alive. So we give the same teaching to our children. If we didn't do that, we gave them another one, some of the society pillars would not exist. That is one of the things that we know about life here on earth, that the only things that actually do survive in the transformation process between death and rebirth. If you take a child, for instance, what is it born with? It's born with instincts, primal needs, and you could say primal needs and instincts. That is what it is born with. Otherwise, we would say it's a blank slate, right? It's like the brain is a blank slate. You can color it the way you want to. That's what he can do here. Just know that when you color it, you can color it to become a follower. You can color it to become a leader and believing in itself, But when you do one, you cannot also have the other. Like when you give it religion, it will probably not become an atheist. And if it chooses to become an atheist, it will be a choice later on in life. If it wants to separate from something it grew up with. Religion, no religion. Belonging, freedom, right? Or free existence. Family, free existence. And what is best? Like what gives you the sense of most wholeness, you could say? There is something about recognizing that these dualities exist. They exist to make us more aware about ourselves. They exist also to somehow place us. Like, what role can I take in this world? Can I become a big one or am I a small one? And I am a small one because I can see the big ones and I don't feel like I belong there. But is this something you have learned? You have been taught? Is it how you have been raised? That there should be a difference, that one should be bigger than the other, right? Is this something you have been taught, or is it really that? Is it really so? I feel like it may not be that there is a great breakthrough with this. It's more maybe there is a knowledge of some kind. And I feel like there is this blending now that the one that may have been small knows now, right? They know that they actually hold a lot of power. If they leave the scene, the other one cannot have power, right? They cannot have power over them. They may need to seek it elsewhere, right? That when the small one doesn't participate, when the dog leaves, the dog owner can no longer have someone to control. Do you get my point of that? So this is where we can reverse the view on power, right? That power only, like the one in power is dependent on, he is dependent on the one that is small. But the small one is not dependent on the one who is big necessarily, because they are used to being small, right? They're used to not having much. They're used to not like living a small life. They are not used to attention. They are not used to, they can walk away. They can leave. But this one still needs the follower. It still needs the clingy one, or the one that seems like they can't do on their own. I get almost a feeling like, because the telepathy is here, it's a bit like maybe we could share. Again, look at this, the glow of this one, right? And then there's this wolf by her side, right? That the wolf could be this one, right? That is used to being seen as less, but still fierce, right? And then she's this one, right? This golden glowing one. But what if they could unite there? What if they could unite, right? Work together, be together again here? What if what if they could again realize that this one only is on top when something else isn't? This is where you can, like in your mindset, you can shift your awareness around to know that if you belong to this group here, and I have been reading for scapegoats, I feel like, just know that you do have power, because the scapegoat is just a role you could have been playing, but not necessarily the only one you have. A scapegoat is used to being bullied. It's used to like dirt and being unseen. It's used to darkness. It's used to the small things. A scapegoat can live with very little, whereas this one is extremely dependent on their ego achievements and this like boosted ego that they have. All the things they think about themselves, the reassurance. Scapegoats usually don't have a big self. They could even have a lack of one. They don't have big ideas about themselves. They don't think they matter much. But actually they do matter a lot. In connection with power, they matter a lot. In America, when slavery was very present, that is a role play too, right? And it's controlled by power dynamics. So you could have one landowner, a white landowner, who had, let's say, 100 slaves. If these slaves got together, they could overrule the landowner. But because they believed they couldn't, and because they thought poorly of themselves, it took a lot to actually get the movement of the slaves. They had to be treated extremely poorly, and survival and the survival of their children and their dignity and everything had to be so hollowed out that there was almost no existence left. This is where it starts moving, right? This is where it becomes so bad that it has to start moving. And this is what I feel like is happening. That something has become so little and so bad, so the living circumstances, the air that it can breathe is so little, the food that it has is so little, that it starts moving. It makes a movement, right? It starts a rebellious movement, an anti-power movement, because it becomes so bad that eventually it doesn't matter whether they comply or fight. They will probably die anyway. So why not fight? And that's what the slaves did. They start fighting. They start opposing. And many were killed, yeah. But something did happen, didn't it? Something about that situation changed, did it not? Because the ones in power understood that they cannot control a herd like this, like a group as big as that, by power alone, right? Sometimes leadership must be earned. It must be, leadership must be respectful to stay in leader position. Otherwise, it won't work. And it's like it's almost like someone is whispering it, saying, I know, I've always known. Eventually, you will come back to me because you need me, right? You need me, otherwise you can't feel like that. Otherwise you can't lead anything. You are dependent on me. For instance, I believe that we as a human species, we believe that we are above the natural law of this earth that we live in. But without the earth, without everything that it provides and holds, without every season, with new plants and fruits and everything, without the abundance of nature, we would not live. Like there would be no pedestal, glory, there would be no victory, there would be no being better than, or more attractive, or more whatever. We live, Earth is our host, and we should respect it. Without it, without life and death on this planet, without the system of natural law, there would be no life here. Without death, we would be overpopulated, and there would be not food enough for everyone here, animal and human. and water would be so polluted, there would be nothing. Like, it's like we are not in tune with our host. We see climate change, we see things happening, we don't like it, right? We know it has an effect, but then we turn our heads towards the Christmas party because it's a bit more fun to think about, right? I'm just saying that, again, if we think about Earth as the one that potentially doesn't have what we need to meet our basic needs and even more, we are in trouble. She can do without us. We cannot do without her. She has shown it. I've said this before. She has shown it many times after disasters and everything. Like even like planet killer disasters, she has managed to rebuild herself and create life again. She doesn't need us. We need her, right? Like we need our body. And we need it to be fit. If we want to stay here for a long time, as long as we can, we need to treat it with a certain kind of respect, right? We need to give it a sense of priority. We need to not ignore the instincts, the gut feeling, the sensational recognitions, the intuition. We need to like give it attention instead of overruling it. I think it will give us a bigger sense of connection, because the body is the most loyal friend you have. It tries to follow everything you want every single day, and we take it totally for granted. Okay, one more here. The moon. And this is a full moon reading, right? The moon is the other side, the opposite of the sun, right? Maybe we should listen to the moon, right? Maybe we should become aware of it here. It says here, opportunity to improve your plans, listen to your intuition for accurate guidance, face your fears and grow stronger. Moon energy is Cancerian, Piscean energy. It's emotional, sensual, it's sensitive, it is intuition. It is, listening to your dreams. If you sit in meditation, what comes through, it's the feminine part of us that dwells in the sleep, in meditation, in the more passive activities. Being quiet. When you are quiet, you can perhaps hear something here. There is something that is in contact, always in contact. Sun and moon are in, like we are surrounded by sun and moon, right? And always. And both of them speak to us. One is very big, the sun, the moon, very little. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact. It doesn't mean that it has nothing of value to say. Again, if we believe in scientists, the moon was created from a massive blast between Earth and a similar, almost equally sized planet, or Mars-sized planet in the same orbit as Earth, like a twin planet. So when and then moon is like a fragment of that planet, and the rest of it is now believed to be some part inside of Earth, that it collided and merged with each other. And then there was this tiny fragment that started to orbit our planet as our moon. But it means that the moon could be a representative of this other planet that like a long time ago was actually a dual planet and in the same orbit. So once there were two, right, in the same orbit that potentially could have been holding life or could hold life, but they crashed together due to gravity. And it means that there could be this other friend, right, that is trying to speak to you here. This friend that is trying to speak to you, that is like you, it's similar to you, but no longer present. It has become more moon. It is hidden, right? We can't see it. Moon is usually also something hidden, unknown, a secret, something repressed, something intuitive, something you can sense, but you can't see it necessarily. Maybe you know it due to claircognizant, clairvoyance, clairaudience, or something like that. You know that it's there, but you can't touch it. It's not, you can't, grab it. But still there's something there, right? This other planet, scientists have called it Thea. If you're interested, you can look it up. There has been speculations whether it was half size of Earth, or it was maybe more Mars-like size, so almost the same as Earth. But whether it actually happened or not, they don't disagree. Like it's detectable in the soil also, that there's a difference between the soil. Like the density of the moon is different than the density of Earth. So there's something about like how they like the density of the two planets were different. And again, like we are products of this, or descendants, we are living beings of this Earth. And if this is actually true, that the two planets somehow merged in this collision, it makes sense that we can also say that we hold masculine and feminine energy within us, that both are present. And it also means that you can find answers inside you that is maybe not something you have come across on the outside. I like the idea of the things that are very big, like the cosmos and the planets out there, can be viewed in a very smaller scale here on Earth. That it all, like scientists and physicists, they do this all the time, this scaling up and down. That what you can find in big scale, you can find in very small scale. If you use lab equipment to find it. Cell evolvement and the attraction we can feel with another person is the same as atoms that can collide and merge with each other or be repelled by each other. That is the same that we can feel when we have chemistry with someone, or the opposite, right? That I like that idea, that the Big Bang we believe happened and it is happening all the time in cosmos, is the same that we have here on Earth. When we have sexual attraction, the sexual encounter with the massive orgasm is to me the same as the Big Bang collision. So that's just how I view some of these mechanisms. And it feels for a moment in that blast or in this sexual ecstasis that life stands still, right? It's like you are out of this world, that you exist in a fragment of moment somewhere else before you kind of return to your normal life. It creates this explosion in the brain. I think it's all connected, right? That everything is connected. So when we find opposites like anarchists and religious people, for instance, it's just a dual version. Like the religious people would not know that there was something particular about them unless they meet the Antichrist, right? We can say that God exists and God has a certain way, like a persona almost, or an identity, and it has a certain way of seeing things. Particularly, we can see that when we compare it with the Antichrist, which does not do that. And it's in this comparison that we find identity, or we find corners, or where we know that we belong more to one group than the other, and we can then point the fingers if we want to, right? But without the other, we would not know that what we are doing is special. We wouldn't even know that it has a certain impact. Not until we meet someone who is not like us or does opposite of us. We can become provoked, irritated, frustrated. We can point fingers. We can become angry. But it all shows us something about us and our acceptance of something different, or the lack of acceptance. And the other way around, of course. When you have no desire to judge it, or you have no desire to criticize it, or no desire to point fingers, it also tells you something about your understanding of universal energies, your acceptance of the Antichrist, for instance, that it's there, it exists as an energy, that life exists and death exists, trust exists, mistrust exists. And only when one meets the other, they realize how different they are. Okay. For some reason, I want to look at, when I looked at the ballerina here, I said that it's like she's an angel. I don't know if you can see it, but it's like she has wings. And then this one has wings, but she has now dressed herself in a blue dress. You see, it's like there is something about, maybe you want it to be pink, but she wants it to be blue and purple, right? Something that potentially was a love situation here, with the pink here, now needs to be dealt with a sense of cleverness, right? A sense of intelligence, intuition, clairvoyance or claircognizance. Something here needs, like the only way to solve this is to take in these energies here. Purple and blue, right? She has changed her dress, this one. And she has become bigger, right? She's like him now, right? She's not a little, she's grown up and she has changed her dress. I feel like that there's something, and that is why she can now, maybe with the telepathy here, the blue, with the telepathy, with the claircognizance, she can send a different message now. One more card on this one. She's coming in, I feel like, with a rather clear information. She's big now. She's bigger. It's like an adult, or she's as big as, she's as big as her, you would say, or authority, or her voice is bigger, right? It's as big as his. Or I want to say it's not budging. Let's say that. It may not be as big, but it's not budging, right? It's no longer crawling back and hiding. It shows itself in an intellectual, very knowledgeable, intuitive way, in a dark way also. Dark feminine here, or not but dark necessarily, but moon, like the full moon is a gateway, I hear. It's like creating a gateway, a telepathic gateway of statement. I feel statement. As I just said, it's like you can reverse these power dynamics. If you think about it, you can reverse it. And if you believe in the idea that the little one actually has the power, that if nobody wanted to hear the music of Elvis, he would not have become an icon. The same with Michael Jackson. It takes a fellowship, right? It takes something that adores it, that likes it. Otherwise, it doesn't become big. So if you are not giving that attention to it, not allowing it to be big, it will not be big. It cannot be. I feel it's something about equaling out the ground. Like equaling out the ground field, right? That these two twins, together they are stronger than they are in separate. And if they are separate, one will be big and one will be little, right? So separate, one will be big or more, I don't know, abundant or successful or something, and the other one, or more triumphant, and the other one will feel the lack and be small. Together, they will be a power couple, but it takes for this one to see the value of this one, to see the value of these qualities here. Again, she's changed her dress. She can do that. You know, she's used to being small. She's used to being left alone. She's used to being secret. Feminine energy can shift and turn and change itself, like Earth has done with its evolution. It doesn't need a crowd, right? It doesn't need a crowd. Though I feel that she has, like there's a little dog here and a little different animal here also. Yeah, it's like she has shifted her. She has put on a different dress. And she has become bigger, like literally physically almost bigger. Someone who may have been like small, a little daughter, is now a grown-up woman, right? And she is now claiming equality or something like that. She's claiming to be understood as equal, that she is equally as important. Okay, one more card. Let's have it here. Get the owl here as a flyer. The owl is also representative of knowledge. Knowledge. And then there's this interesting stare. It's like it looks at you and it just knows, right? It's watching you. It's like someone could be watching, being quiet, right? The owl doesn't make a sound necessarily. It can almost fly without any sound when it hunts. It has 360 vision. It sees everything from above. It has you could say a more meta-cognitive view of something. It scans the environment. It has night vision also. Of course, moon, night vision. It knows something, right? There's something it knows that you cannot see in daylight. You cannot pick it up in daylight. It is not available in daylight. It's only something you can get access to when daylight is not there, actually, when it is nighttime. Maybe even winter time, where the daylight is not so prominent. I said before, Capricorn season, which is considered the darkest time of the year, where there's very little sunshine. Like if you are, let's say you are you're living under these circumstances of a lot of darkness and very little sunshine or daylight, you have to know about the dark. Like you have to make it your friend. You have to become like the owl, right? Being able to scan and find your way in the forest, even if you don't come back. You don't make it back during daylight. You have to listen, like your instincts, your bodily instincts have to be in tune. You have to be able to move in blindness, trusting what you hear and smell and sense. You have to trust your senses. It's the only way you can get back to your house, right? It's the only way you can survive at night in the forest alone. It's the only way you have to adopt. You have to get night vision, right? You have to adapt to the darkness. You have to listen to your senses, your psychic, your intuition, and you have to trust it. You can't second guess it when you're out there in the cold. To get home in time, you have to become clever, right? You have to learn and adapt and become clever. Love is not enough, you know. You have to get out there, perhaps, in the nature, right? You have to adapt to it. You have to get the night vision. Or someone here with night vision, someone here who has adapted, someone who knows, someone who can scan the environment with their senses. You can know an owl has extreme excellent hearing. They can hear if a mouse is moving under the snow, right? So they can fly over the snow and they can hear where to attack, to find the mouse. It means that you can hear through a layer. You can hear through a layer that seems like there's nothing there, but underneath the snow the mouse is moving and the owl can hear it. It has nice night vision and it has extremely exceptional hearing. It can hear through a veil, right? It's very knowledgeable here. It has strong senses, 360 vision. It can scan an environment and pick up on movement even though it looks like there is none. That is what our body is capable of. It can adapt. We know that with living things. Living things adapt to the environment. We can have, like salamander beings, when they live in the forest, they have a color that is more brownish. But if it lives inside a dark cave, it becomes more pale and white because color is not needed. It can even become blind because there's no light. So why have eyes, right? It's more important to activate other senses or other abilities to adapt to the environment. And that is what this one can do. They can adapt. Get the witness here. Very appropriate. The witness is the one inside that follows every move you make. And they see every step of the way what you're doing. But they are maybe mute, like they don't speak, they don't say anything. But they are there and they have been watching all the time, all the way. They see and hear everything. They witness everything around them, they are a witness. They can, it's like a body memory, they know stuff. They have been a witness to everything, but they are probably mute. They don't say anything. But they can come forward with knowledge. They have borne witness to every decision you've made, every choice you've made. As I said, they haven't said anything. Because again, our body it follows. A friend, again, a leader and a follower. Sometimes the follower is the witness. It sees everything. Maybe it remembers everything. But it's not saying anything. It follows here. Because it has no choice. It has to. Or the witness can be a witness of good deeds and bad deeds, good life and bad life, right? Or good life and or kind life and unkind life. Unkind to you, unkind to others. It's a witness of everything here. And I think it's spilling through, there's something here that is told that comes through here. And it has to do with also this idea about that some people are better than others, and these beliefs only exist because something else is playing another role that allows it to exist. If I was wearing my 80s outfit and my hairstyle like the 80s, people could judge me, right? And say, oh, she is, stuck in time. But if I lived in the 80s, everyone would applaud me and think I was high fashion, right? An interesting thing about fashion is that it actually repeats itself. Like some of the patterns or the overall patterns of fashion, they have already been there. It's just a long time ago. And maybe, the color has changed a little bit, the design, but it has been there before, usually, in one way or the other. When I see this, like the witness and the owl here, I feel like it's like they are kind of the same. They watch quietly, right? Night vision, they see everything, they remember everything. There's also, I think, a saying about owls, right? That they have a lot of memory. They know stuff. They are wise. The witness is wise. It has seen everything. It knows everything. Sometimes we say that the things that you may have repressed in your mind can be found in the body because it has seen everything. It knows everything. It knows the wood at night. The natural world doesn't live in a dream illusion, right? An owl is always very aware of what is a predator to it and what it is a predator to. So the mouse would be her victim, or the owl's victim, but something else like an eagle could maybe perhaps attack the owl, right? So it still has to be wise. Like we would need to be very wise and very clever and very in tune and very aware, like alert, you could say, or have our senses on when we are in a dark forest at night. Because, well, there are many animals that would not attack us simply by the size that we have, if we carry fire or something. But we could fall in a hole, a trap somehow. We could injure ourselves. We could get branches in the eyes that blinds us, right? We could still be in trouble. We could fall into icy water. There are still things that could happen to us, though we have a certain size, though we know stuff. It all depends on environment, right? In the natural nature environment, we are not basically more than any other animal. We do have an advantage when we live in society with the rules that we have built and the tools that we have, maybe weapons we have, and so on. We are definitely different than in nature. But a global crisis on Earth could render us back, you could say, in with all the others, all the other animals here. And someone here says that we will. Like when we die, we are basically the same as any other animal dying here. We return to Earth. We are no better. We will be the same again. Something upscale or something of glory or of ego only exists because something else allows it to. The idea that society is built on patriarchal ground principles and that society still exists is only because the matriarchs play the role of second. That is the only reason. Because if the matriarch society, the matriarch people decided not to play along with those rules, it would collapse. And I have a feeling that something is happening with the dominance or the hierarchy understanding, that hierarchy becomes more scattered. Levels of power doesn't have power anymore in the same way. Moral and tradition is challenged, and there can be a sense of upheaval. And I think it's because rain always have a sense of time. In Earth history, we have seen this many times. Societies have come, they have reigned, and they have been destroyed. In cosmos, we see it with the suns. The sun reigned for a long time, but eventually they become, let's say, red giants. They change, they lose their power, you could say, their firepower, and eventually they die out. There is no such thing as eternal life, not even in cosmos. I think Earth has done quite a nice job of getting around that, especially because Earth itself is not a sun. It doesn't have sun energy. We are heated by a sun. The Earth is heated by a sun. Everything that grows here is because of the sun. And because Earth is not a sun, it has done the second best. It has chosen a second best solution, a solution where it is leaning upon the energy of the sun, and for as long as the sun lives, I guess that there would probably be a sense of life on Earth. It will probably change, as it has always done. There will be new species. Maybe there will be new humans. Different versions adapted to a certain environment at that point in time, depending on the climate change. There will be challenges to the adaptation to new ways of living. Can we live in a warmer climate? Can we breathe if oxygen changes and become mixed? Can our lungs adapt to this over a long time? I'm pretty sure it can. It is said that all living things here on planet Earth comes from what is known as LUCA, last universal common ancestor. So a bacteria that lived several billion years ago. At that time, Earth was very hot. It lived actually from CO2 and under Earth and in very warm volcano-like Earth channels. So if we for some reason carry some of this gene in us, I think we can adapt. I think we can. We all derive from that common ancestor, at least scientists say so. If that is true, I guess that we could adapt, or versions of us could adapt to that. Like we now have adapted to oxygen, we could probably adapt also to less oxygen. But it will, of course, be a different life. We may live differently. We may eat differently. We may have a different understanding of what life is. I just think that everything is connected. What we are experiencing now is not special. It just is. Like, it is what it is. Can we allow for changes? Will the leadership with the hierarchy dominators, will it try to protest against these changes? Will it bow to it, accept it, or will it fight it? What will you do? Will you trust your body more? Will you trust your intuition more? Will you allow it to have a say in your decision making? Will you slow down? Ask it for advice? Though it may not give you the answer you would have preferred? Will you get the night vision? Or will you trust the night vision of your twin version, or this other part of you, your shadow maybe? Will you trust what they are hearing? Will you trust the telepathy they pick up on? Will you trust of what they see and know? Or will you ignore it again? It's there. It has seen everything. She has Atlas here, so I feel like she is this, you could say, she belongs to the physical part of us, the evolutionary state we are in, that we derive from a long ancestral line of like protein mixes and evolution of the body and how it works, and that some of our instincts and primal you could say drives or needs, they come from a time when we were still animals, right? When we were still, some of the brain we have, we know that the reptile brain, it still works to a certain point, like it did way back, and it does so because this is where we come from, and we can ignore it, right? But this is where I believe that when you do this, you cut this off, this is where you can become lonely, right? It's like there is this sense of not being grounded in yourself, that you are following all these desires or all these prestigious goals, but in that pursuit there's something disconnected in you. And it is very wise, and it knows this earth very well, and it can scan the environment for you if you let it. And I believe that if they can come together, you can create and build the life that is right for you, where you do get to find some kind of happiness. And at the same time, you are connected internally. I think it's about honoring the best parts of you, right? That both of them are worthy. And as I said, this part, they have known all along that no matter what endeavor you are going on, how successful will you want to be, whether you want to become a billionaire eventually, you will come back to her eventually when your life ends, eventually when everything is over. You will return here to her. So you can run from her, but you cannot hide, actually, because she knows already. She's just quietly waiting, She's not saying anything, because she knows that eventually we all return. And I feel like there is this almost like a rift or something, that something is almost like a drop, right? It drips through, Something comes a little bit closer, or it's nearer, right, to you somehow. Like the veil is thinner or something like that. And when the veil is thinner, something can be heard here, right? When the veil is thinner, something can be heard. It's not that she is like, well, I told you so, now I'm in charge. It's not like that. I have the pink here. Like this is a love match, She's waiting here. It's almost like, it's a bit, like the wife at home. And she has this husband who he's not a homebody, right? He needs to, get out and, I don't know, do something. He has to cut the wood, or he has to dig a hole, or he has to build something, or he has to go out with his friends and get drunk and, do something. But then she knows eventually, when he has been in this turmoil, he comes back, because he can't do this for a long time, right? Eventually, it's like she just knows, right? Or like a child, like the mother knows that sometimes the child becomes very angry and throws things, and because it cannot make the box work or something. And the mother knows that I may need to let their fire out, right? I may need to let them get it out, get it out and over with somehow. Because eventually they come back to me here, right? Eventually they need me. So maybe the child wants to stand on own 2 feet, and you have no say, mom, right? I will do this anyway. Great, you go and do that. But eventually you get back to me. Even though you sail around the world, when you become old, when you are not active anymore, you will hear me, right? You will hear me here. You will hear me here. Then you will see me and recognize me as your equal. And in the meantime, you could say she needs to figure out what she's going to do. That's maybe what she has done. You know, that she has figured out that whatever, this is like Gemini energy cannot be separated, not for long. Well, a human life may feel like it's long, but in the big cosmic universal time span, it's nothing. It's a little break or a little separation. It's not big. And I have this feeling it's like something is becoming aware of the drawback. Someone has been out there sailing around the world doing their ego stuff. But there's something here where it's time to start the journey home or something like that. It's time to start the journey home. That is the feeling that is starting to come in here. Someone knows, right? The one who has been silent, waiting, she knows. She knows that they are coming. She may have not heard a word from them, but she knows. Right? She knows. She can hear through the veil again. Right? She seeing through the veil. She's a high priestess. Right? This feeling. She just knows. She doesn't have to do anything. It's a given. It's a given. She has always known, I think. And I say she, it doesn't have to be a woman, right? I just say because a moon is usually feminine energy. So someone with a feminine energy knows. She knows. She doesn't have to do anything. Separation is an illusion. She knows that. It's just a matter of time. This is what Earth does with the eternal life thing, right? It has this life cycle that we all start a life, we end a life. We start a life, we end a life. Plants do this, animals do this. Reproduction is part of it, and sharing of information to prolong some kind of dynasty or something, some kind of teaching. But usually it stops at some point and then something new comes, a new narrative, a new story, a new it has been so, like the studying of Sumerian teachings and like Egyptian teaching, Greek teachings, and so on. There's a sense of something common, but also a touch of something new. I just have the feeling that there is potentially a new narrative coming in that is scattering the existing one. There's a sense of blending of something that comes in that can create a rumble effect, maybe it's slowly, but it's starting, I feel like. It can be in your own personal life. It can be like maybe bigger in society, in like global movement of energy. The interesting thing is that the thing that has power seldomly wants to give it up. So the power can be, as I said, if nothing is feeding it, it doesn't have that power anymore. So if you take that away, it cannot sustain itself. It has to change the rules. It has to change the concept. It has to renew itself. It has to become, it can keep it up, of course, but maybe lose, followers. So to keep them around still, it has to adapt to the new wishes here. New wishes at once. Otherwise you can't stay on top like that. The Catholic Church, for instance, can only stay as big as it is because it has enough, you could say, followers. Followers that choose to believe in the teaching of the Catholic Church and the Bible. If for some reason these followers choose to believe in a new doctrine, the Catholic Church could lose their followers and therefore lose their position in the world. The teaching of the Catholic Church could become a long lost memory, like other teachings have done the same. It all depends on, whether something is playing the role of participant. If you are a participant role, if you play that role, follow the doctrine, do the things that are required, believe in it, adapt to it, live it, breathe it, then it persists. If you start not doing that, it cannot persist in the same way. This can also be, let's say, your own introjects, like your own voices, the voices that you have internalized during upbringing and school and everything. There could be like these teachers inside, the voices that correct us and so on, correct our behavior. That some of these introjects may not be they may not be profitable for you to have anymore. They are maybe in the way. They are a problem. They're not helping you. They're actually blocking your ability to move in the world. So if you decide, I don't want to follow this doctrine anymore, you have created a rift in the titanium wall, right? of your own mind. I think also it's important to actually realize or figure out for yourself what this means. What is your abundance truly about? Like, what does it mean, this? What is it exactly that makes you feel so at ease and so like content and happy and peaceful, perhaps? Like, what is your, you could say, perfect scenario about? And examine it, right? Because is it really yours, or is it something that has been planted in you? That this is what you're supposed to desire? Is it really what you want? Are you ignoring something if you are pursuing it? Are you then ignoring something else? And is that really what you want? There's always like when I choose something, I am also at the same time not choosing something else. So let's say I choose career, then I'm maybe not choosing family life at home. If I'm choosing some, as I said, ice water diving, I'm definitely choosing some kind of ego triumphant hero-like pursuit. But at the same time, I may be neglecting what my body is actually telling me about the icy water. I'm pretty sure you could do it, but it's just for how long can you do this? Before your body starts reacting to what it has been exposed to. Yeah. And the same thing is with, let's say, another person. If you have another person in your life, if you have this physical twin, as I said, or if you have a hobby that you actually would like to make into a business, well, if you neglect it, it probably will not be anything. If you have a child that you trust will follow you and be your follower when you see them grow up, if you're not there, if you don't attend to them, if you don't care for them, if you don't put any kind of interest in them, get to know them, they probably won't. While you are pursuing your career, they probably won't. Why should they? There's no attention on them from you, right? When you choose to follow your own ambition, you are at the same time not listening to someone else's. There's always a pro and con with decisions, right? And life choices. If you decide the party life, to have fun, to be adored, you know. You are at the same time not choosing a trusting partner. The idealization is more important. You could be choosing that instead of something else that is maybe more or less. It's maybe less. It could seem more boring. There's no glory in it. But it's true. It's genuine. It is there and it's present and it chooses you and it's devoted to you. So if you have something like that available to you, why is it that you are choosing something else? Maybe abundance for you is not the deep connection or the devoted connection. You just have to ask yourself, why do I want something and not the other? And become clear on it and honest about it. Then you know where to go, right? And not to apologize about it. But sometimes children follow the ambition of their parents. And is it really that? Is it actually what you want? What you want? Did they ever listen to what you wanted? Or what you liked? Were they even there? Or were they consumed or absorbed with something else? And if something is consumed and absorbed by something else, should you wait for them, like literally sit there and wait? Or should you just get your own life up and running and find meaning in what you are doing instead of waiting for someone else to choose you? Eventually they will. Okay, this is what I have. I hope this helped. Take care of yourself, everybody out there. Love and light to all of you. Bye-bye.